This is episode 34 of Spiritual AF with Pixie Rose, the podcast for people going on their spiritual journey, knowing that we are spiritual beings having a human experience. Before we get into this episode, I want to invite you to the Lunar Temple, my monthly membership portal. So unfortunately, I'm not able to provide readings right now due to so many time constraints with so many exciting things happening, like my up-and-coming oracle cards and my online intuitive courses. But instead of offering my readings that I absolutely love doing, I would like to offer you another way to connect. Through this monthly membership, you will receive live online readings and intuitive guidance. So this is through Zoom calls, so just coming live on Zoom with me, asking questions, or receiving whatever you need to receive. This also includes new moon and full moon online circles with me. So these events are recorded and they provide an opportunity to create ritual in connecting with the moon and honoring yourself. For the full moon, we will be releasing in a beautiful ritualistic way, releasing anything that no longer serves you. And then in the new moon circles, we will be focusing on what we're manifesting. And through both of those Zoom events, I will also provide any intuitive insight and guidance for the month ahead. This includes private channelings. So again, the recording is made available if you can't attend live, but otherwise you can jump on live on Zoom and experience a channeling, and again the opportunity to receive that intuitive guidance from those higher energies that I'll be channeling. You will be invited to a private Telegram group to connect with other like-minded souls, and you'll also receive exclusive guided meditations to help connect with yourself, heal, and activate. This membership is only $25 for a limited time only, and there is no commitment attached to this membership. You can cancel and rejoin at any time. But if you do join right now at this special price and you stay with me, as a thank you, you will receive my up-and-coming oracle cards as a gift. So I can't wait to share these oracle cards with you, and as members of this beautiful space, the Lunar Temple, you will receive these oracle cards as a gift, and you'll be the first people to get your hands on them. To join this membership, check out the show notes and visit my website pixiesteps.com.au, find the Lunar Temple, and just send through your email, your details, and I will send you the link to the membership portal. I can't wait to connect with you. Welcome to Spiritual AF. I'm Pixie Rose, and in this episode, I'm going to be talking all about past lives, how you can access your past lives, why you might want to, and how important it is for our spiritual development and growth. Now, I believe that exploring your past lives is an essential part of our spiritual development and growth. It is all about remembering our soul's destiny. We are born, we forget, and we spend our lives remembering our past lives and all the different experiences and connections we've had. And all of these past lives create an imprint on the soul. Now, these imprints include the lessons that we've learnt, or sometimes we haven't learnt those lessons fully. So we need to relearn those lessons. We need to keep experiencing the same things until we learn the lesson. Because I believe that everything happens for a reason. Now, we've spoken about this before many, many times, that everything is energy. So as human beings, we are made up of water, viruses, and bacteria, but ultimately everything is energy. So what happens to us when we experience trauma is this trauma leaves an imprint on us. So I believe that there are certain things in life that are written, certain experiences that need to happen in order for us to learn our lessons. And then we have free will for everything else. We choose what experiences we have. But all of these things that we experience shape us into who we are today. And I've spoken about this on the podcast before, but I really resonate with Buddhism teachings, which go into how there is no compassion without suffering. So when we have these experiences, they help us to shape us to become more compassionate and loving. But every experience imprints on our soul. And although we are here to experience, it's essential to go through our own healing journey, which I've spoken about heaps on the podcast. And I do believe that, first of all, it's important to focus on your healing from this lifetime, which is ever unfolding. But if there are some areas of your life that you just have not looked at again, you haven't reflected on, and you haven't received any specific healing for whatever might have happened, I don't know if it's always possible to access your past lives if you haven't healed significantly from this lifetime. In my quantum healing sessions, I do sometimes see a bit of a block in going into a past life regression when the focus really needs to be on this lifetime. Part of these lessons that we learn, whether in this lifetime or in other lifetimes, is to recognize our purpose. What is the meaning of life? And I personally believe that we all have a collective purpose, which is to serve, to help others. And then within that, there is your individual mission. So you recognize these lessons help guide you onto this path, this mission of what you're supposed to do in this lifetime. And that does look different and unique for everyone. The way that we help people is going to look different for everyone. But when you do experience trauma, it affects your energy. Now, when I do readings for people, I can see their traumas and I can see what needs to be healed. And the way that I do these readings is I use the energy of your name. That's all I need, is I write down your name, even if it's a Facebook name or whatever, it all works. But using your name and that energy from your name, I connect to your soul, your higher self, and your guides. And when you haven't healed from a trauma, it stays with you. So when there's certain emotions that haven't been processed, they can create blockages within the body. Now, this can be blockages emotionally, physically, spiritually, because everything is interlinked. So a holistic approach is the only approach. This is especially important in this time now because we're moving beyond the physical. This is what 2020 especially was teaching us, that we can do all these things that we used to do in person, we can do it online because the physical is an illusion, right? So more and more people are waking up to the fact that we are spiritual beings having a human experience. But when you haven't healed from something, you carry that with you and it impacts you. It impacts so many aspects of your life, but especially it impacts your intuition. It impacts your physical body. This is where we experience disease. And it impacts the amount of growth that you can do within this life experience. So if you can imagine your traumas as a bag that we carry around, like how women carry handbags around. Imagine we're all carrying around this kind of bag, and everything from the past, any traumas, anything that needs to be healed, just gets put in this bag and you just carry it around with you. So the bigger it gets, the bigger the blockages get within you, because the bigger it gets, the heavier it gets, the harder it is to carry. A lot of people come to see me when they're feeling lost in life. They often don't know what direction to go to. They can't hear that inner guidance. And that's because they're carrying around too many stuff. So part of what I do is I unpack that bag for them. I remind them of their past. That's often why the past comes up, is there's healing that needs to happen there. So I bring up some bad memories sometimes, some experiences, those traumas, and we make steps. We create steps in how to heal from those experiences so that we don't have to carry them around anymore. Because once you've healed from them, you're not carrying them around. And sometimes they might come back, and then we need to relook at it again, heal another layer. But when we're living from the past, we can't be in the present. And that's the biggest thing within this human experience. But being a spiritual being, is the human is a meaning-making machine, as they say in Landmark. So we are these machines that just create meaning to every little thing that happens to us, every big thing especially. And when these things happen to us, we change. Our thoughts and feelings can change, and these past experiences can impact our future decisions. So it's very hard to live in the present. It's a hard thing to do because you're constantly reminded of the past, and feels like there's got to be a healthy balance within learning a lesson and ensuring that you're not repeating those same mistakes. But at the same time, letting go of the past and just living now in this present moment. Not making a decision based on what's happened to you in the past, but being okay with being open to where you're truly being guided. So I believe that when there's issues within someone's life, there's usually a surface issue and then a deeper issue that we uncover through time. And this is really obvious when you are in counseling or therapy, but looking at humans as this beautiful unfolding rose, there are layers that we uncover as we heal. So we heal one thing and then another layer is underneath that. So it's okay to focus on a surface issue, but just know that as you unpack it, as you heal from it, then you'll discover those deeper issues, those deeper longings that just want to be healed. So as I mentioned, within quantum healing, hypnosis, or past life regression, often people will go through past memories in this lifetime if that's something that they need to focus on. So there are levels of this spiritual development. So that this lifetime is that first layer. And I've shared my healing journey before in the podcast, but I've only been healing my past lives in the last 3 years. Before that, so the 10 to 15 years before that, was all healing from this lifetime. So it's a lot of healing to do. That's why it's not like you just get one session of Reiki and you're good. You got to keep going back, keep exploring more. And uncovering more of those layers. So even though I've only spent the last 3 years really exploring my past lives, I definitely had these feelings around what I might have experienced. And I do believe that you can connect to your past lives just with this sense of knowing, or that clairsentience. You just have a feeling that you lived a particular way in a past life. This is especially interesting when you are curious about history, which I've definitely nerded out on. But looking back at history, what eras have you been drawn to? This gives you little hints on what past lives you may have experienced. It's generally a time in history or an era that you're drawn to. So where do you feel like you have a connection to? Where do you feel like you just know things about? I don't know if anyone listening has ever had this experience of maybe studying something in school and you have no interest in it at all. And it's probably because you're just not connected to it. And then you look at other people and they've made a life from learning and exploring everything about ancient Egypt. Obviously, they had a past life in ancient Egypt, and it's part of their soul's mission and purpose to uncover that history. I remember I was really obsessed with World War II. Like I'm a free-loving hippie. I do not like war. I'm all peace, And yet I devoured everything I could find about World War II. It was very strange. I was like, why am I so interested in this? It may be Atlantis. You hear that word and you just want to know about it. You want to learn about it. You feel connected. Could be the Roaring 20s or the 60s. It could be feeling drawn to a particular culture. So you might be living in Australia, but you're really drawn to Japanese culture. And as I've spoken about on episode 3, I think it was, the enchanted realms are also a past life because we are interdimensional beings. So there are many, many of us that have come from a completely different dimension. And in the past, I do believe that dragons were part of our culture. So there may be those connections. I'm an incarnated fairy. That fairy life was a past life of mine. A big one that many people experience is a past life as a witch, and that trauma that stems from the witch burnings or the many other ways that they used to kill witches, because there was this fear of magic and fear of the unknown, and that patriarchy stepped in and just wanted to completely eradicate anything that didn't fit into that box. So that's a huge one, and there's reoccurring themes within people that are healing from certain past lives. So that witch past life, there's a fear of being seen. There is a fear of being your authentic self. And that fear is so paralyzing. So I've definitely had a witch past life as well. But my past life was, I think the reason why I was killed in my past life as a witch, and for me it was drowning. So I do have that fear of the water, which I've been healing. And that water fear is reoccurring as well. So often we'll have the same experiences again and again and again. But that fear is also around, for me, about not keeping things sacred or not keeping things secret. So the reason why I was known as a witch and had that experience was because me and the other girls, because we were quite young, we were being taught, and we simply didn't keep it a secret. It needed to be a secret at that time, and we didn't take that seriously. So that's part of that lesson that I learned. But for other people, it's really, really hard for them to connect to their intuition, to connect to their healing abilities. They are so scared of what people may think of them because they've had this really intense life where there was witch trials and it was just horrific. So collectively, a lot of us have been healing from those witch past lives. But it's important to consciously go back to these past lives and reflect on those lessons and find a completeness from that. There's a lot of healing that can be experienced emotionally and physically. So I've spoken about this on the QHHT episode, but QHHT obviously is a modality where you can explore your past lives, and there are other modalities too, which I'll go through soon. But it is an essential part of the QHHT experience and the past life regression for you to experience the death. And that can be quite intense for a lot of people, but nobody comes out from these QHHT sessions more traumatized. There's a sense of healing from reliving that and having that acknowledgement. And the physical healings can be quite amazing as well, because sometimes people come in with very strange discomforts within their body. One example is somebody who had a discomfort in their left shoulder. So right side of the body is an issue within this lifetime, and the left side of the body is an issue from a past life. So as we go through this past life regression, this person went through a past life within a tribal experience. And I've had so many of those. I would say percentage of my QHHT sessions are from tribal experiences where, another tribe's come in, or white people have come in and just completely destroyed the native people. And those lives are extremely traumatic. But as I mentioned, the healing that comes from revisiting that is really powerful. So in this one experience, it was how the person died. So they were shot in their left shoulder. So how it works is that person was 29, and that was the age that they died in the past life. So when you have these random pains in your body, and they're not from an injury, there's no reason or cause that you can think of. There's just a constant pain within the body. It's not until you revisit a past life that you realize that it's a way to help you remember. It's a way to help you remember and heal from that past life, so that you can recognize why that life was important, what you learned in it, and then what that life has to do with your life right now. So as I mentioned, fears can come into this, and they can be irrational fears. So I've had an irrational fear of water, because water has been the way that I died through a few past lives. So the way that this irrational, if you want to call it, because it is quite rational when you look into it a bit more, the way that fear works is it's your subconscious switching on, trying to help you remember to be cautious so that you do not repeat that same death experience. The subconscious wants to grow. We want as much time on this earth as possible to learn all of the lessons that we can learn. So as I mentioned before, there's some of our lives that we just have this sense of knowing, or this strong feeling. The first past life that I connected to was when I was a teenager. And I remember it came out of the blue, out of my mouth. And it's like I wasn't even thinking, and I was surprised when it came out of my mouth. But I said, "Oh, I'm certain I've lived as a slave in a past life," or something like that. And as I mentioned, I said it and I was like, oh my God, I think that's true. Like, it was so strange. But some of our lives we just remember. There's people that know that they were witches, or they were mermaids, or they were in the war. Whatever it is, you just have this sense of knowing. And children are especially really good at this, because it's as they grow and they get older, they go through things like school. They have parents that tell them that what they're saying is nonsense. They have all these experiences that condition them to forget. But naturally, if you have a child that is open and has the freedom to express themselves, then they will remember parts of themselves. And this has been my daughter. So ever since she could talk, from about 2 or 3 years old, she told me lots of stories about our past life together. And I think when she was a little baby, I had a psychic reading. So that's another way that you can learn about your past lives. I love tuning into people's past lives in my readings. But I received my first psychic reading, and I wanted to know about my past lives because I was just newly experiencing it and learning about my past lives. And this psychic told me that my daughter had been a catalyst. That was the word that she used, that my daughter was a catalyst in many of my lives. And that in our last life together, she was actually my mum. And then when my daughter was about 2 or 3 years old, she would tell me stories, and she would say, "Do you remember when you were a baby and I was your mum?" And she'd just tell me all these things that we did. And it was just amazing. Like, I would just say, "No, I don't remember that. Tell me more about it." And she'd tell me all these things. And I just think that's incredible. I'm sorry to interrupt this episode, but I wanted to share with you my online intuitive courses that are going to be running live on the 25th of February. I have 2 courses available. The first one is called Discover Your Intuition, which is a 10-week course for those of you at the beginning of your spiritual journey. So we cover 10 topics in 10 weeks. Mindfulness, meditation, clearing your energy, grounding your energy, protecting your energy, chakras, connecting to your higher self, spirit guides, working with the pendulum, and empath gifts. At the end of this course, you will get an opportunity to do your first practice reading. So my courses are for anybody who wants to enhance and develop their intuition. So that's the first course for anybody who this is all completely new to you. And what this course is all about is giving you the foundations, really starting with some basic stuff, but it's all about creating some beautiful practices to get really centered and responsible for your energy. The next course is Enhance Your Intuition, which is a psychic development course. So I do recommend doing the Discover Your Intuition course first, but for those of you that feel like you've already got a pretty good grip on those topics from the first course, if you are interested in Enhance Your Intuition, just get in contact with me to my email. All my links are in the show notes. But email me and just let me know that you're interested in the Enhance Your Intuition Psychic Development course. This is an 8-week intensive course. We cover 2 topics each week. The topics are unlocking the clairs, so that's your clairvoyancy, your clairaudiency, all of those clairs, learning your strength. Topic 2 is dream interpretation. In week 2, we learn about reading a person's energy and aura, reading the environment. We do photo readings. I teach you all about the enchanted realms and how to do your own enchanted realms readings. We learn about psychometry, mediumship, oracle cards, tarot cards, past lives, the Akashic records, channeling, tuning into the collective, and high vibrational food and energy. Enhance Your Intuition is all about giving you those skills if you're interested in becoming a professional reader, or if you just want to deepen your intuitive skills. There are so many modalities here that we go through, and we give you all the information on how to enhance it, what it all means, and have you feeling so confident in yourself. In this course, you have many, many opportunities to do practice readings on other people that are also doing the course live with you, as well as some really cool extras like a group past life regression and a private channeling session for those that are in the course only. So these courses are just incredible. I've worked my ass off for them and I can't wait to share them with you. So please, if you're interested in developing your intuition and your intuitive gifts, please get in contact with me and check out my courses. Check them out on my website. Another way that you may be connecting to a past life, potentially if you're not ready to know about it, is if you actually have a disinterest in a particular era. So for me, I had a very strong disinterest, but it was not even a disinterest, it was much stronger than that. It was the medieval type era really disgusted me. And anything to do with that era, I just couldn't watch. I couldn't read books that were set in that era. I could never watch Game of Thrones or anything like that. I just was like, nah, I don't want to know about it. And then in that same psychic reading that I mentioned, she told me a bit about how I died in that life. And it was probably my most traumatic life. So because it was so traumatic for me, my subconscious really put a big block on that one. And it was like, no, you are not going to experience that until you're ready. Because remember, we are never given more than what we can handle. It is all divine. When you find out about certain things, whether it is through a psychic or whatever means, whatever modality, you'll only receive it if you're ready for it. But for a very long time, I was not ready for that era, same as my connection to Atlantis. I had a very strong disinterest in Atlantis, and it was almost like anything that I heard about Atlantis would just kind of go over my head. So that can be another little hint to what past lives that you have lived. But as I mentioned, there's many ways that we can access our past lives. So some people receive past life memories through their dreams. So these may be reoccurring dreams or those dreams that just felt so real. You can access your past lives in meditation. So simply meditating, focusing on connecting to your past lives. Meeting people that you've shared a past life connection with is probably my favorite way to discover past lives. There's just this sense of knowing them. Well, especially if it's somebody that you've had a good past life with. I think sometimes you can also remember someone from a past life if you have an instant dislike of them as well. But there's this sense of just knowing them. You know that you've shared a past life. There's this trigger, there's this connection. And what part of this is, it's all soul retrieval, which I'll go into a bit more soon. But when we remember, pieces of our soul comes back to us. So whether it's through meeting people, meditation, QHHT is a huge modality of soul retrieval. Another way that you can access your past lives is by accessing the Akashic records. Now, this is probably going to have to be a whole episode, but I do teach this in my course. So I have 2 courses that are running at the moment. or they will begin on the 25th of February. And the first one is called Discover Your Intuition, which I've shared on the podcast before. Check out the empath episode. That's got some information on how to discover your intuition and the topics that we cover. But in the Enhance Your Intuition course, I go through past lives. You will receive a group past life regression within the course. And then the other topic, I think there's 17 topics, and we cover them in 8 weeks. So it's quite intensive. We're going through 2 topics a week. And one of the other topics within that course is the Akashic Records. So I teach you how to access your own Akashic Records. So if these things are intriguing you, definitely head over to my website and check out my courses, because I specifically teach you. You will know how to access your Akashic Records, and you will receive some past life information throughout the course, because I believe it's essential to our spiritual growth. So in order to read other people, if that's something that you're wanting to do, it's important to connect to your own intuition and to know yourself. You'll remember, if you've had past lives as a witch or as a gypsy or as this incredible intuitive being, that information will come back to you, and you'll be able to relive that again in the sense of connecting to your purpose. So for anyone who hasn't heard of past lives before, I do like to keep it nice and simple and not blow your mind too much. But ultimately, time does not exist. It's an illusion. And it's only a true past life if the life has ended and there has been a death that's experienced. But we can be living multiple lives at the same time, which is probably another episode. But I do just like to drop that in there just to keep the mind nice and open. Some more information on why we should even care about our past lives. If they're in the past, then why does it matter? But our past can hold us back in life, in this lifetime. So if we are living with pain for our lives, so physical pain, if you're experiencing chronic illness, anything that physically holds you back, there's really only so much you can do. You're very limited. So thinking about Maslow's hierarchy of needs, if you're dealing with physical issues, it's very difficult to reach self-actualization. So if you're on the bottom of that pyramid, there is no way you're going to reach that spiritual alignment unless you overcome it with your mind. But I believe that the body is amazing and the body can heal from anything. And there's reasons why you're experiencing what you're experiencing. So another example of this is somebody who came to me for a QHHT session and they were experiencing endometriosis. She went through a past life as a woman in the Middle East quite some time ago, in more ancient times, and it was similar to that tribal experience. She lived in a village, and what happened to her was her husband died in an accident. So in those times, there was a lot of development. They were building buildings and creating these villages. And her husband died in some kind of accident within that work. And what happened in these parts of the world and in that point in time was women were more or less nothing without their husbands. So when her husband died, she was exiled from the village. She attempted to walk to the next village, which was quite a distance away. I believe she had 2 children with her, and she had to walk across the desert, possibly the Sahara Desert or something like that. And she died in the desert, and one of her children died in the desert as well. And her subconscious told her, when I asked why the client was having this experience of endometriosis, The subconscious said, because of that experience of dying in the desert and leaving, and her child dying in the desert, that was the body manifested that. But by acknowledging that happened, she was able to heal from that and does not experience endometriosis any longer. So going through our past lives, we can heal from chronic issues, especially if you've gone through this lifetime and it's not from anything that's happened in this lifetime. It's got to be a past life. So just being open-minded that if you're experiencing chronic pain or disease, that it can be manifested from multiple reasons in this life or the last. So I believe we are limitless beings and we can achieve anything. And that's what we learn through healing and through self-love. We learn that we're amazing. We can do anything. We can create a beautiful home. We can work in our dream job. You can create your own heart-centered business. Whatever it is that is your dream is 100% possible. And I believe that everyone should be living their purpose. But the only way that we can do that is by letting go of anything from the past that can hold us back in life. So again, if you're dealing with that witch past life and you're scared to be seen, you're scared to be that healer, you're scared for people to know of what you do, that's going to hold you back in life. So going through our lessons and stop repeating the same scenarios. Often, especially in relationships, people will be dating the same person. It might be a different face, but it is the same person and the relationships are the same. There's this theme because we're not learning that lesson. You're not realizing that you're worthy or that you're deserving of a true love. Letting go of the past is really going to help you in so many ways. So as I mentioned, if this is something that you want to learn more about, get in contact with a good psychic. As I mentioned, I'm not currently doing one-on-one psychic readings, but you are more than welcome to join my Lunar Temple online membership portal, and we may even do more on past lives. It's definitely something that you can come through and ask, what are some of my past lives? And I'll connect to people's past lives. You can explore the Akashic records. You can connect with a local QHHT practitioner. You can get your meditation on and connect and see what comes through. There are so many ways. And I'd love to hear from you as well. Feel free to follow Spiritual AF on Instagram. Tag me in your post if you discover any of your past lives. I'd love to hear from you. Also, if you're listening to this podcast on Apple Podcasts, I'd love it if you could leave me a review. That would be so amazing. I'd love to hear on what you're getting from the podcast and what you'd like to hear from as well. Feel free to get in contact. I love receiving emails from people, so let me know how you're going. I do hope that you enjoyed this episode, and remember, even if your wings have been clipped off, they can always regrow.